Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. And honestly, the focus of this video is going to be XRP. I'm going to quickly just touch on the charts because yesterday we obviously had Jerome Powell come out and announce 25 bips rate cuts, which I said I was like nervous about or unsure about, and both of those things are true. Pretty much a nothing burger in a way, like it's kind of what we expected. It's been confirmation now, so it's obviously decent for us, confirming that he's not going to be just political and he is potentially going to be data driven. And it was quite dovish towards the end of his FOMC minutes, basically suggesting that we could have 2 more cuts this year. This is Bitcoin price. It just whipped about yesterday. We did see a bit of a pop in XRP, but I've got so much to talk about with XRP, so I'm going to try and keep this TA part really short today. So XRP chopped about as well, and also Doge. Obviously, we're in this Doge trade still chopping about, and I said, I don't know if this is enough of a correction here or not. As of right now, is that enough for an ABC because that bullish divergence there? Or is the ABC going to be larger and we come in for another lower flush? And again, I don't know what the answer to that is right now. I'm just waiting to see price action develop. I'm going to push 2 more little things that I think set us up for this discussion that I'm about to have about XRP as well. One is Bitcoin dominance is gaining strength today, but it actually had quite a big drop last night and yesterday while I was asleep. Something that we've been discussing for a while. I said, look, it continues in this downtrend. I've been writing about that or talking about that for a while, guys. I've been telling you guys it's down, it's down, it's down. That's what I think is happening. There's been all this noise from everywhere else, like people like Benjamin Cohen saying that it can't go down any further, and it just keeps making these continuation patterns. And that's what I think happened. I think it's just going to continue in that vein. 1 or 2 more like things I quickly want to just touch on before we do obviously move on to all this XRP stuff, because I think it's so important. Like, I want to discuss this with you because you're going to be in a position that I've been in other cycles. I know that for a fact. And the other thing was BNB is at $993. Why is this important? Well, it's about to hit its 1.618 extension. I don't care particularly for BNB, but being one of the largest or one of the top 10 altcoins, I think it looks good for BNB to be hitting that 1.618, especially when we consider our Doge trade and where Doge is relative to the 1.618, for example. Let's just show you. This is just rough. I'm just talking as we go, so I'm trying to get past this part. 1.618 would be like 112, 115. And Cardano is another one that's lagging, but also XRP hasn't hit its 1.618 either. It's got quite a way to go to hit that 1.618 for XRP too. Look, I'll show you. Again, just quickly draw this in. So I'm just showing you that like 1.618 for XRP will be 560, and that's where BNB is right now. So that's what XRP would need to get to catch up. So like, what do I think, and why am I giving this like weird thought process to you guys, like, oh, I want to talk about XRP. Let's get into what's happened in the last like 24 hours. So while everyone was focused on rate cuts, including myself, this is all the stuff that we've had going on for XRP and the XRP ledger. So let's start with this. CME basically said that options trading has come in for Sol. I don't know what micro Sol is, but XRP and micro XRP futures. Very cool. At the same time, yesterday we had this SEC approves generic listing standards for commodity-based trust shares, basically saying that it's going to be a lot easier for people to list exchange-traded funds and exchange-traded products, or ETFs and ETPs, within crypto. And then this as well, the SEC approves the listing of Grayscale's digital asset large cap fund covering Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Sol, and Cardano. Now, it's weird to see, obviously, Cardano and XRP in the same room all the time. And this, I think, sums it up as well, which is something else that's been going on in the last 24 hours, is that with others, so Hoskinson, which is obviously the founder of Cardano, Ripple being Brad Gardenhouse pictured here, Charles Hoskinson and Brad Gardenhouse, as well as representatives from Kraken, Coinbase, Paradigm, Multicoin Capital, and Circle, met at the White House to discuss language in the market structure draft that's coming out. And A16Z as well, obviously a really important part, which is a bipartisan bill being passed this year, as Charles Hoskinson says here. And I actually commented about his midnight airdrop, but that's irrelevant for right now. So we see options trading potentially coming, or they are coming. The SEC saying, look, anything's going to be able to be listed for an ETF or ETP soon. Brad Garlinghouse and Charles Hoskinson in at the White House. And then the biggest news of all, in my opinion, is this, and it's not getting enough attention yet, in my opinion, maybe because people are asleep. But Ripple tweeted, introducing the next building block of on-chain markets. We're partnering with DBS Bank and FTI Global, which is Franklin Templeton, to establish repo markets powered by tokenized collateral and stablecoins. Investors will be able to use RLUSD to trade Franklin Templeton's money market fund and SG Benji tokenized on the XRP ledger. So Franklin Templeton, their money market fund is going to be tokenized on the XRP ledger. It's going to be listed on DBS's digital exchange, earning yield, and new liquidity ventures. Institutional momentum is building on chain. This is fantastic news. I'm going to get into some more of that in 1 second, but let's just jump into what exactly repos are. I asked Grok because because I understood that the Fed use repos to stimulate markets, and in the short term, people use it to put cash to basically earn yield, essentially. But financial institutions use it, bankers, brokers, hedge funds, money market funds use it, central banks like the Federal Reserve use it, non-bank financial institutions, corporates and official agencies, and institutional investors. So what do they use them for? Short-term funding, safe investment for excess cash, collateral management and liquidity, hedging and arbitrage, monetary policy implementation, and innovation in tokenized markets. So I think it's a very exciting step forwards, and this is why I'm getting into this. And then Jack McDonald said one thing about it as well, who's obviously the CEO of, the CEO of RLUSD. He said repo transaction volume is well into tens of trillions globally, nearly 12 trillion in the US itself. So that's a huge amount of potential volume that could come onto the XRP ledger. I'm not saying it all will straight away or anything like that, but I'm saying that they're obviously building for this to be happening, okay? So now this is where I'm going to talk to you guys. Since my first step into crypto in 2017, I always thought this just makes so much sense, especially then when I learned about XRP. So I learned about Bitcoin first, and at the time Bitcoin wasn't as expensive to transact because the price was lower. It wasn't perfect, but it did have finality and settlement, so I could move capital from one place to another. At the time I had a tiny SME in the UK, and I was purchasing goods from China, and my money that I sent took 3 days to settle, and cost me for say $3,000 transaction, cost me about $300. I remember using Alibaba. And I remember thinking is this actually what people do? I didn't know if I was getting scammed or what was happening at the time. I was like, is this actually what people do in the real world? And the answer was yes. So when I found crypto, I thought, well, this just makes so much sense. And then when I learned about XRP, you can just settle value from one place to another in 3 seconds every time it works. And I was like, well, why aren't people just using this? And that always been my argument for crypto. It's it's just so obvious. It needs to be used. It needs to be implemented. And then that cycle came and went. I was like, well, I've found this, so pretty much everyone else should be seeing what I'm seeing. And then 2021 came around, and I thought, surely this cycle, we saw El Salvador legalize crypto or legal tender. We saw Nigeria do the same. I was like, there's going to be a wave of legalization and making this global currencies and tender. Obviously, the SEC lawsuit came to Ripple. But then that cycle came and went, and I was like, well, where's this fucking utility? This thing is solving a worldwide problem. We can get into the conspiracy behind it. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm just giving you just a preface of this cycle. And I always thought like it's going to come. And when it comes, like I don't think, and I still think this, okay, I'm going to get to two parts of this question. I still think utility is going to come. I still do. And what that means for price, I genuinely have no idea. And I'll tell you why I have no idea. Because I can argue both. We'll use XRP just for the example. I can argue both sides of the coin for XRP. Hey, pardon the pun. One side of it, you should see massive appreciation as a lot of TVL moves onto the network and we start to settle back end for maybe some financial institutions and some infrastructural plays around the world, especially with what I think is happening in the US. Just seen them in talking with the, like, getting the right verbiage for the bill, etc., etc. So that's one side of it. The other side of that is XRP moves so fast and so quickly and it's so efficient. Why does the price need to be high? And like I think that doesn't mean that I don't think there'll be a base value, because I do. I think, but we haven't created an effective price model to price base utility yet or base TVL. Because let's just say we move $1 trillion onto the XRP ledger in TVL. Well, to move that around with XRP, it doesn't take much, and you can use that XRP the same like loads of times to move different amounts of value. But as I said, there will be some equation that I haven't worked out yet that will equate to at least a minimum value of utility. Okay. So with that being said, though, this is my third cycle in crypto, and neither cycle has utility come through. And I'm saying this just to keep you guys in the right place mentally, and myself actually. It's a reminder to myself too. If we see substantial moves from XRP this cycle, if we get up to the $8 to $12 mark, and maybe higher, 15, I'm going to be taking a significant amount, probably towards 80% of my portfolio off the table, and that's because every cycle previously, we haven't had this utility actually come into fruition. And maybe now this cycle it's the time. And if it is fantastic, because then we've just locked in our future pretty much. But things move slowly and then all at once, as people say, but they still move slowly. And as I just said to you, there's no base value, in my opinion, that utility is worth, There's no, or I haven't worked it out yet at least. I think it will have a base value, and we don't know how much it's going to come on chain, and that obviously takes a while. But the point I'm going to make is, I showed you Bitcoin dominance to start with. I showed you BNB's breaking out to the 1.618. And now I've given you all this about XRP, and I think XRP is going to do the same too. I think it's going to send it. But don't get caught in the trap of thinking when it starts to send that it's going to go to $100 or $200 or $50 straight away. And like I could be wrong with this, as I said. I've always thought utility was going to come. I thought that the first cycle, I thought that the second cycle. And neither cycle did we get it. Doesn't mean we can't this cycle, but what it does mean is keep your head in the game. If you start to hit like $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, $13 plus, and people are like obscenely bullish and it makes you feel sick, and you're there thinking you're the best investor in the world, and you've been right all this time and all this, and like you deserve it and all this sort of stuff, give your head a shake for a second, take yourself outside, take a breath, come back in, take some profit. Seriously, I'm going to be. And look, then if we're wrong and it continues to rip, happy days for everyone who's invested. If you keep a moon bag, happy days for you too. You can enjoy the ride. But you've still probably changed your life. If you've not changed your life, at least relative to what your net worth is from getting in at, I think my average is like 40 to 50 cent. And if it goes to $10, that's my whole portfolio average on everything that I've got pretty much. 40 to 50 cent. It goes to $10 just for ease of math, and say 50 cent. So 20x on my whole portfolio. On everything I was worth. I've never owned a car, never owned a house, never owned nothing. Everything that I've ever earned from 2017 cycle into 2021 cycle, from that cycle to now, I was all been an XRP, and I've taken significant risk to be in this position. And look, I'm a big boy. I make my own decisions. Everyone's told me it's stupid to take that much risk, and like, are you crazy? Yeah, fucking I'm a bit crazy. But I believe in it. I've believed in it since the first cycle. But I also believe that speculation moves price further than utility does, at least initially. At least initially. And so speculation could fucking rip us to $15, and then we could have some catastrophic event in markets and it could crash down to like $2 or $1 or $3, whatever, $6 even. But you'll be sitting there kicking yourself if you don't take profit and you've made 20x on your whole portfolio. And look, if your capital's not worth as much as mine, which it might not be, or it might be, I don't know. It's still relative to what you were afraid of losing. So if you're afraid of losing, let's say you put $1,000 in. If you were afraid of losing 1,000, it's now worth 20,000. You should be fucking 20 times more afraid of losing 20,000. That's the way to look at it. Not, oh, it could get to $1 million if XRP goes to $1,000 or $100. Don't look at it like that. Look at it like I was scared to lose more than $1,000, and now I've got 20,000. So I should be 20 times more scared to lose this. That's not to say that you should just bang it all out and then you'll feel sick if it does then continue to rise. But I do think taking heavy profits is something that you should do if you make a significant amount of multiple on your capital. And I will be. I'm going to tell you that honestly. Hold it for as long as I can. But when it gets to prices where I literally don't think I can hold it anymore, I'm going to sell. And I will keep a moon bag, and that's going to be between 10 and 20%. If we go up to like $15, it'll probably come down to about 10%, realistically. I won't be holding much more than 10% past 15. And that doesn't mean I won't get back in if we dip. It doesn't mean that at all. If we don't dip, I'll be buzzing. I've changed my life. I've changed the future of my family's life, my children, if we are lucky enough to have them. My friends have all invested in XRP because of me, essentially. My family have. You guys probably in some way like listen to me, I don't know. But we've done all that together. If we get there, and like I think we will, that's my base case, is that we go 8 to 12 realistically, and then we could have an extension of that if we have euphoric price action and a narrative to go with it. Could be up to 20 or 30, somewhere around there. Like if we go nuts, which is really hard to predict right now. But 8 to 12, I'm significantly out. Above that, get to about 15. I'm probably just going to hold the last 10% for moon bags. And then if we go to like 20 or 30, I'll probably be down to 5%, realistically. And then if we go to the thousands or whatever, fantastic. I've still got 5% of my bag, and it's great. We still are going to be, but we're good anyway. We're not going to be rolling around in platinum-plated private jets, but we're going to be good, and that's what we're here for. If it can change your life with the capital you've invested, or pay off debts, or pay your mortgage off, that's what you're here for. Don't let anyone tell you you shouldn't do that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I think that's a really important message. Obviously, none of it's financial advice, and I could be wrong. Like, we could just rip it to $100. We'd all be standing around in circles, holding hands, clapping, and doing the karaoke. I don't fucking know. I don't know. But that's where I sit, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So don't be surprised if the narrative is insane. Fed are testing on the XRP ledger, openly talking about it. We're at $10, and I'm selling. Don't be surprised if that is what happens. And I just want you to have a think about what I've said there today. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with a friend. Please do just at least take into consideration what I'm saying. You don't have to do anything based on what I say, but just take it into consideration. If you want to trade in any leverage, I have a link to MEXC and WEX in the description below. They're both non-KYC exchanges. As I said, nothing I say in this video is financial advice, but I hope you enjoyed it. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say. And I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, I'm bloody excited. Peace.